Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Chef Trail. I want to thank all of my new subscribers. I really hadn't intended to make a whole lot of content until I got on the trail. As my channel says, Chef Trail, I really want you guys to see how the food I've created works on the trail. I can sit here in a comfortable room and talk about it all day long, but how it really works is what's important. But that being said, with my recent posts in a lot of the Facebook forums, which has brought many of you guys here, I just wanted to talk about some of my food and resupply. I plan on using shipping myself resupply boxes, which this can be a very controversial subject amongst the hiker community. We are very diverse people, human beings, so it's obvious there's going to be multiple means to approach the trail. But there are those that insist that their method is the best, and resupply boxes are just silly and frivolous and a waste of money. But I did a lot of research going into this because financially, that's really the most important aspect of this is affording the hike. I think that's really what it comes down to for everybody. And then beyond that, affording it, I want to make sure that what I'm purchasing is good for my body. It's going to fuel the the machine to get to Katahdin. So I am definitely at this point being a complete greenback. I'm a rookie at a thru hiker. I've spent a lot of time outdoors. I've spent weeks on end hiking and camping and foraging. So I'm no stranger to surviving on trail, but for a 5 month potential hike, that's a whole new venture, and it's quite exciting. I think it is for all of you guys. But I'm going to be using these standard flat rate. This is a $16.20. This comes in two different sizes. This is I felt like this box had a larger interior volume, so I could put shoes in here. It accommodate all sorts of stuff. The other box that's in this price range it's a much more square looking box, so you wouldn't be able to get a pair of shoes in it. I definitely have pre-purchased some hiking shoes that I want to send along, and in the flat rate boxes at 16 and a quarter. There's a lot of options that come along with it. A lot of you people out there know about bouncing a box forward. A lot of times post offices can be a little bit flexible with you. The post offices along the trail are much more familiar with dealing with hikers, while the post office typically stipulates you can't open the box and then bounce it forward. A lot of times these workers in the post offices know you might just need an item or two out of the box and may necessitate the other items further down the trail, and they'll accommodate you. I've heard stories from hikers that were allowed to remove a few items from the box, and the post office went ahead and bounced the box forward. And in some instances, they've put some things in the box that they purchased in town to have at future locations. So I will add more to this as I experience it along the trail. It's all hearsay at this point. As we know, 80% of the people fail, so who knows what really added to a successful hike versus an unsuccessful hike. I'm going to put about a week's worth of food in each box. I've got 20 boxes planned for the whole trail, so that's $360 I'm going to spend in just shipping alone. Now that seems like a very large number, but then when you strip down the cost of the food that I'm putting in the box versus what I would be paying on the trail, I still feel, based on the numbers I worked with, and at this point, I don't want to share a bunch of spreadsheets because I'm not sure it's 100% true. So I'd hate to find out weeks from now that some of the opinions that I formulated in my pre-hike get shattered, and I've just spit out a bunch of random numbers that really aren't going to be worth anything to you guys. So uh, like I said, I'm venturing into this in a very unknown means, which is what is alluring about it. That's the welcoming thing. I think any of us that are older hikers, through hikers, are looking for a new adventure. But so we're going to start with my breakfast. And breakfast is, let's see here, breakfast is, my meals aren't going to be anything different than a regular hiker eats. I get a lot of comments that, you know, treat my posts like I've come up with some sort of new diet, and it's not. I mean, I'm eating oatmeal and cream of wheat and grits for breakfast. I mean, that's what most hikers, outside of the Pop Tart freaks, uh, most people are eating oatmeal and some sort of hot cereal that can be warm soaked, cold soaked. So I've got 5 packs of a variety here. We've got some cream of wheat. We've got some grits. We've got some oatmeal with walnuts and dates, and some with cherries, and some with strawberries and blueberries. It's it's not rocket science. Uh, Prepare these things to your particular tastes. I will say that I'm using whole grains and as unprocessed as possible. I'm not using any quick cook. I got all old fashioned oats. I got yellow corn grits, so they're not bleached out. Trying to retain as much of the phyto and micronutrients that are available there. Yellow grits are much more palatable, in my opinion, than white grits. But I'm not against white grits. I also have white grits. So they're good and they're quick, they're easy, and various circumstances will present reasons why you may need to cold soak one night and have your breakfast on the run, or you might enjoy sitting down and have the leftover remnants of some coals on a fire and enjoy a hot breakfast in the morning before you hike. Uh, Now for lunchtime and snack, I'm there again. Nothing new, nothing exciting, but it's just content. Really, it comes down to content. It's like it's like a cheap novel versus a wonderful book. You can make your AT hike just like a periodical magazine and breeze in here and breeze in there, or your hike can truly have some content to it, and that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to add content. These are granola bars that I've made, and they're packed with nutrients. On average, each one of these bars is 400 calories. So in comparison to what you can buy off the shelf, standard is somewhere in about the 250 calorie range for packaged goods. So you have to do a lot of pairing in order to peak out that caloric load. So people are getting Cliff Bars and then eating peanut butter from the jar, and maybe eating some dried fruits, which is great. It's just how you want to carry it. And then you can add a lot of diversity by pre-planning your meal. There are a lot of grains and nuts and fruits that I was able to purchase in bulk that just really aren't readily available in small portions, or exorbitantly expensive. I mean, just almonds, for instance, are hugely popular right now. But if you go into 7-Eleven or Dollar General and you buy a 4 ounce package of almonds, you're going to pay for them. Pistachios, any of the fancy nuts. I mean, even peanuts now have become expensive to purchase. Anything in small package form that's reasonably easy for a hiker. You don't want to have to go into a town and buy bulk items and strip them down into Ziploc baggies, because it's just time consuming and not very cost effective buying baggies in every town. So, in addition to granola bars, I've supplemented with Cliff Bars, Quest Bars, things I find on sale while I've been preparing. So, not all of my food is going to be what I've cooked myself. There have been some great sales and cost-effective purchases that I've added to my boxes. It's no reason to sit here and go through all those. Everybody knows what a Quest bar and a Cliff Bar looks like. I'll be carrying a proverbial jar of peanut butter from time to time to pair with my afternoon snacks, because I am a peanut butter lover. And that's pretty much my midday. I want to have something that I can just eat in small amounts. I'm not a person that's going to sit down and eat a heavy lunch when I'm hiking long distances. My breakfast is going to be relatively light, not something that requires a lot of heavy digestion. That's why, I mean, hiker food is actually pretty well suited to the application in which we're applying it. No one would want to sit down and eat pancakes and sausage every morning before a hike. Well, it sounds nice, It would just be burdensome. Now, one of the things that I do that not all hikers do is this is my bag for my recoup, refuel, a lot of different terms people like to use. But when I finish my hike, within 30 minutes or the first hour after I've stopped climbing, and typically what I like to do is I'll take my pack off and I'll go find a water source. And in the process of that, I'll carry a 20-ounce Gatorade bottle with me. And that Gatorade bottle will be used with these packets. And then I've got some, also got some emergency in here. And I've got some honey. I've contemplated carrying some collagen with me. Collagen protein is really great. If you guys really want to go and look at the Gear Skeptic, I could get scientific here, but there's no reason to, because let me tell you what, the Gear Skeptic, he's got it all on point. If you want the numbers and you want the breakdowns, go check that guy out. Search out Gear Skeptic. His stuff on trail food is on point. He's done all the research. But let me tell you what, some sort of recoup or something to, so your body, when you finish that hike, is still at its max performance load. And you really want to take advantage of what you've prepped on all day long. It would be like building a race car and spending all this time building a beautiful, fast race car. And then when the race starts, you let the whole field go out and do 25 laps before you decide to even start. You just wait, you're wasting time that is there for great use. And so that hour, really 30 minutes to 45 minutes after you've finished your hike, you really can take advantage of what your body is doing, and replacing electrolytes and some carbs and something that's really easy to consume. Typically, you're still going to be a little bit thirsty, and you don't want to burden your stomach with anything heavy. So I wouldn't suggest a snack of another granola bar or Cliff Bar. By the time your body can digest it and the energy required to do such, you're going to waste. You're going to lose it. So you want something quick. Collagen protein paired with some sugar carbs is really good, and you're going to notice it the next day, much more so than anything else you're possibly going to do for the remaining of the night, no matter what you eat for dinner. Really and truly, you're not going to see the effects of that until you're in the middle of your hike the next day. So if you really want to wake up ready to go and ready to hit the trail, I suggest getting some sort of recoup within an hour of when you get off your hike. So Gatorade, I bought it on Amazon, super cheap that way. I brought it down to, I think, let me see here, it was 15 packs for $13. I mean, they're less than $1 a pack. I bought 4 cases of them, and so enough for my whole hike. And so dinner time. So a couple hours, hour or two after I've had my recoup, I'm going to get hungry. And actually, that recoup will stimulate your body to make you more hungry. You'll desire your meal a little bit more because you've preloaded your system, let's say. And so for dinner time, while my breakfast and my lunch options are relatively simple, granola bars, hot and cold cereals, dinner time, I went a little bit more, let's say, a little more creative and stepped out of the box. I am a professional chef, so I have a lot of knowledge about flavor profiles and food composition that I was able to modify my meals to create a very diverse yet nutrient-rich menu that's going to keep me stimulated for looking forward to eating. I'll probably miss having eaten a meal that I'm looking forward to again, and looking forward to that resupply box to get another one of those meals. There are no repeats in any of my boxes, so each one of my boxes will have 5 different meals, and I had over 10 different entrees, so each box is very unique in its own right. I will repeat meals on a rotation of 8 to 10 days, so I won't get bored. It's not like I'm going to be eating couscous every night. I know a friend who hiked the trail, and that's all he ate: oatmeal for breakfast, and peanut butter for lunch, and couscous for dinner for 5 months. And I just couldn't imagine doing that. He was a cold soak freak. He's done the PCT and the Appalachian Trail that way. It inspired me a lot, but I'm not so inspired to just cold soak everything. Now, most all of my meals, um, like for instance, I've got a broccoli and cheddar. This is with orzo. So I pre-cooked the orzo and dehydrated it. So I could just pour cold water in this, and within an hour, it's perfectly palatable. And while the flavor will be flat because the heat really heightens the flavor profiles, it's consumable. It's nutrition. It'll get me fed. It'll get me to the next day. I've got a peanut satay. And in this little package, there's a little round of Thai style noodles. All this stuff readily available at the grocery store. The packaging I got from Amazon. These are Mylar bags that I just heat sealed. I didn't vacuum them. I left air in them because like I said, it has a lot of pasta in it, and so that air will help cushion it, and it won't just be nothing but little bits and pieces. The packaging for my breakfast, also from Amazon. These are great. I mean, these things cost me like 4 cents a piece. So all that stuff is readily available. And then I've also got things like Indian style, like curry. I really love curry. So this is dal. It's lentils and rice, but I've supplemented it with, I took some sweet potatoes and I baked the sweet potatoes, and then I dehydrated the sweet potatoes. But then I took the sweet potatoes after I dehydrated them and I pulverized them in the food processor, and then mixed in powdered coconut milk, and some curry and some garam masala and some other spices, and then mix that all together here. So this is a very, very flavorful dish. And as I'm going along the trail in the summer months, I can always hop into a little market and pick up some fresh cilantro, fresh basil, some green onions, small fresh vegetables, and supplement any of these meals that I have very easily without having to carry a lot of weight. Let's see here. I've got a Vietnamese Style Pho. Some of you don't know what pho is, but most of you all really do know what pho is if you eat ramen. Ramen is really just a stripped down form of pho. So it's noodles and broth, and to this I can add beef jerky. I could stop in town and pick up some shrimp at a market, and the first night on the trail throw some shrimp in my pho dish. It's very, very versatile. There again, it's not unlike a package of ramen. It's got a little disc of Cantonese style noodles, and then I was able to find at a local market, they actually had these awesome little pho packets, a little liquid packet, kind of like a ketchup packet, but it's all of the core flavor profiles for pho. And so that's stuck down in here, and I just add myself a cup and a half of water and let it cook for 3.5 minutes on my little BRS, and I'll be eating some really good food. So that's really the extent of my diet. The meals will vary slightly to some Thai dishes that have peanuts, or Thai dishes that have coconut curry. Most of my dishes are of some sort of ethnic flair, because I know that I'm going to be supplementing my diet along the way with things like, there's going to be times when I'm going to be eating pasta creations and tuna creations and potentially a package of ramen. I've never had a ramen bomb. I'm going to have to try a ramen bomb once just to say I did. Who knows? Maybe I'll turn into a ramen bomb lover, but I highly doubt it. In addition to those foods that I've showed you, I've got some other things that I've added to my packs. This is called a Stroopwafel. Now, some of you know of Stinger waffle. A stinger waffle is a very popular athletic and any health nut, very active person. They're super ultra light. Um, Stinger waffles are great, but they're just because they're kind of taking advantage of a trend. They're twice the price of a Stroopwafel, and these are Daleman's Stroopwafels, readily available on Amazon. Half the price of a Stinger, and it's actually got more calories. It's better than a Stinger, in my opinion. This is a caramel with a little waffle cookie on each side. They're quite sturdy because the waffle is a little pliable, so they pack well. They can stand up to kind of being pushed and whatnot, and don't just fall to pieces in the package. And even in the instance that one gets broken up a little bit, they're really good. Uh, it's a great way to get a little bit of indulgence. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll save these. These are something I'll have. I get a sweet tooth late at night, and when the sun goes down, my sweet tooth just starts pulsing. And I don't care if I ate a 20-ounce steak, a 1-pound potato, and 3 ears of corn. I could be sitting there miserable, sick, full of food, and an hour later, for some reason, I want something sweet. And I know there's a lot of you out there that can relate. And so this is something that allows me to have a little bit of a late evening indulgence without having to cook anything, or without having to uh, throw on unnecessary calories, because there are good calories and bad calories at different times. So anyhow, that's just a couple things I like to put in. I've put some bubble gum and some random candies in my boxes, just for something to spice up and excite some. The gum, definitely when you're going up and down elevations, my ears like to pop a lot, even when I'm hiking. So I like to keep a little bit of gum with me as I go along to help alleviate that. It can sometimes lead to a headache for me. But it's odd for me to suffer any type of altitude sickness on the East Coast, but I do. And now, something I want to address here that a lot of folks end up using as a defense mechanism in the whole resupply box issue is hiker hunger. People talk about hiker hunger, and I addressed this short in, I think, my first video. And I want to touch on that a little bit more right now, and talk about how I see hiker hunger and how I'm going to try and curb that, how I feel my diet is going to avoid that. The traditional hiker is going to be eating ramen noodles and, like we've talked about before, nor sides, pasta sides, things that are typically very low in fat. And they may try and attempt to supplement with some olive oil to get some fat in their bodies. And olive oil is great. Olive oil is wonderful. But a singular fat source is not a good thing. The body needs a complex offering of fats in order to be able to truly take the proteins that we're throwing at it and turn it into the fuel. So I'm making sure to incorporate all sorts of fats into my diet. One of which, and this may be a result of my southern roots, is pork fat. This is just a 1-ounce cube of salted pork. It's readily available here in the South. I lived up in New York, and I'll be honest, in the northern states, if you're not in a particularly rural area, something like this may be a little bit harder to find. But it's just a salt-cured piece of pork fat, and it's shelf-stable. And I took it and cut them into 1-ounce cubes, resalted it to just help better preserve it. And then they're packaged in this little vacuum container, but I've actually slack packed it. And there's some science behind that, but without going into too much of that. And it can be dangerous when you put any type of raw meats or cooked meats, beef jerky even, under a tight vacuum for extended lengths of time. That's why when you go to the store, you don't see a whole lot of meats unless they're frozen under a tight vacuum. And that's something I can go into later if people are interested in hearing about that, and you find yourself wanting to package meats like this in or biltong. Like biltong is becoming real popular. It's a South African type of jerky, but it's really more so like a cured piece of salmon. There's still some rawness in that meat, and there can be some challenges in packaging and carrying on trail. Other than jerky, jerky's been taken to such a low moisture level that the threshold of bacteria growth has been reduced to practically zero. Where things like this, there's still a reasonable threshold. So, but the salting of this pork is really what is essential in keeping it. And I've got these in a couple of these for the week. I don't have one for every day. I can take this and put it in my grits. I can cook it up and put it in my pho dish. You chop this up into smaller pieces, cook it in the little bottom of your toques a little bit, render it out, let the little hog fat brown up a little bit, and then add your water onto that, and then cook your noodles in it. And let me tell you what, everybody in camp is going to wonder what you're eating because it's fat. Fat, the lack of fat, in my opinion, is what the hiker hunger is being caused by. You go into town, you gorge yourself, you eat pizza, you eat cheeseburger, you eat all these fat-rich foods, and then you go to the Dollar General and you pack up your bag with all these dry, fatless foods. And then if you do have any fat with you, it's going to be the fat from a candy bar. It's going to be the fat from a Pop-Tart. It's going to be the fat from a chocolate milk you drank before you left town. Very few people carry a stick of butter with them, or something beyond the proverbial bottle of olive oil. Uh, so I had considered carrying coconut oil with me and ghee. Ghee is a butter derivative, East Indian, very packable. It's a great hiker item, but when it comes down to all of the added weight, I figured that I can get butter, I can get certain fats as I go through the trail and be able to supplement myself. I may be one of those guys that picks up a stick of butter and has it with me for a couple days on trail and shares it with everybody the next morning to put in their oatmeal. Um, so fat is really the critical thing. Fat is necessary for the aminos and the proteins to be transferred to the cells properly and effectively. Otherwise, you're forcing your body to go into feeding mode and starvation mode, and you really create a situation of stasis, and which then depletes upon your performance. You don't want a stasis in the middle of a 4-hour hike. And eating a very depleted fat diet and packing in carbs and proteins and hoping to expect that these things are going to be converted into energy. It just essentially most hikers are like they've compared them to people being in concentration camps. So uh, you will find yourself craving things constantly because the body is yearning and yearning and yearning, and often the message that the body is sending to the brain, yearning for some sort of nutrient, can be turned in the brain, and we're convinced that we're not happy with what we're eating. I'm tired of eating this stovetop stuffing with a tuna packet shoved in it. Well, yeah, I would get tired of eating that too. But no, it's not that we're tired of eating what we have in front of us. It's because what we have in front of us doesn't have in it what our body is truly wanting. And this is what leads to a lot of overeating and eating issues in society as a whole. Our bodies are very smart. They know what they want and will create messages to the brain and tell you that I want this, I want this. Now, sadly, in today's society, it tends to be sugary items and high fat but low carb protein items, bad food. Uh, so, hiker hunger. I may change my mind. I may be eating the food that I've created here in a few weeks from now. I'm like, I was wrong. I've been eating 5, 6, 8 different types of fats, and I am still not happy. So, like I said before, I really intend my content to be, trail related, not in the comfort of my home. So, to wind this up, I want to thank everybody for their interest in my simple little life here and how I'm applying it to my through hike. It's been quite humbling to get a lot of the responses from you guys that are genuinely interested in how this is all going to work out for me. And I'm excited to be able to share with you as I go along. And as you can see, there's no fancy editing here. I'm a chef. I'm not an IT guy. All my videos are going to be very raw. No fancy music in the background, no pretty picture transitions. Maybe, who knows, someone will reach out and offer to help me do some editing down the road. But I really want to offer you guys raw, unfiltered content so you can feel what it's like. I will provide you some of the proverbial trail shots, this pretty outlook, that pretty outlook. But I'm really going to try and show you in camp. I feel like a lot of the videos lack the in-camp life. They tend to focus more on the hike itself and, the views and that experience. But I've seen so few videos that really kind of show camp, and I want to show my meals being prepared and my true feelings on how I feel about them after a 12-mile hike and eating dal for the 5th time. So happy trails to all you guys. Any of you that are already on trail, keep on chugging. I'm going to be out there April 16th, pulling up the rear, following that bubble up to Katahdin. And I'm so excited to meet so many of you out there. And I look forward to sharing a lot more of my journey with you. Y'all guys have a great day.